You won't see your abs until you understand this, okay? And all you need to understand is that you're not going to get abs until you follow your word, okay? So what I mean by this is every time you say something, you have to do it. Otherwise, just don't say it, okay? So if you're gonna say that, okay, I'm gonna get lean for the summer, get lean for the summer. Otherwise, don't say it, because when you don't do things and you keep saying things and you keep saying things, you're gonna look at yourself and realize you're a bullshitter, right? I mean, one time you do it, two times you do it, it's fine. But the third time, fourth time, you keep doing that over and over, you're not gonna be able to do anything in your life. You're gonna say you're gonna get that job, but you're not gonna get that job. You're gonna say you're gonna go talk to that girl, but you're not gonna go talk to that girl. I would much rather you keep your mouth shut and just don't do anything until you actually feel confident to actually do the thing you say you're gonna do. If you genuinely think you're gonna go and talk to that girl, say in your mind, okay, I'm gonna go talk to that girl. Otherwise, don't even say it. Because man, like, you're not going to get through this journey if you don't even believe in yourself. Like, all these people are out here like hating, or they're gonna project their own insecurities onto you. They're gonna say like, okay, hey, maybe you should eat this. Hey, no, you're in too much of a calorie restriction. Hey, you can't even have, like, a cookie. You can't even have like a little pizza. Like, people are going to try to sabotage you, right, without even them knowing it. And if you can't even trust yourself, there's nobody in the world you can trust, right? Maybe you might hate your boss, you might hate, somebody in your family if they're trying to, like, hold you back. It's sad, but there's people who do that, right? And you're like, okay, I can't trust them. I can't, I can't rely on them to take me to my goals. Well, then who can you really rely on? You can only rely on yourself, right? So all you need to do is, every time you go on a diet, make it a comfortable diet, right? And make it the last diet you go on. So it'd be like, okay, this is the amount of calories I'm eating. And it's not just for 2 weeks, it's not just for 3 days. This is what I'm going to be eating for 3 months. Like, literally marry the diet, marry the lifestyle, right? And literally make a commitment to yourself and be like, okay, this is what I want, and this is what I'm going to sustain, and this is what I'm not going to do. And you don't have to run for like 2 hours, 3 hours every single day. Me personally, I just went on the treadmill for an hour, right? I just did an incline for an hour. Sometimes I might just do 2 hours of walking while I'm reading, right, on a treadmill, right? That's what I enjoy. I know people might look at me weird, but I like reading, so I'm gonna read while I walk on like a flat ground. Or sometimes I might watch some motivational shit and go on like an incline for an hour, right? But do things that you enjoy and eat the foods that you like within reason, right? Like, okay, maybe you don't have to eat plain chicken, but if you want to season that chicken, then season it, right? And maybe you don't have to have like boring vegetables or boring rice. You can put some butter in there. You could even have some fruit with the rice, like, separately, right? Like, you can do that if you like, but don't do shit where it's like, okay, I'm only gonna have chicken, rice, and broccoli because that's what everyone tells me to do. If I lock in, it's chicken, rice, and broccoli 6 times a week. I mean, 6 times a day, and then I'm in the gym for 3 hours, and then I sleep for 10 hours, and then I have 5 protein shakes. You don't need to do that, right? You can actually do it in an enjoyable way. People think it's like all the way Ronnie Coleman, chicken, rice, broccoli, or it's completely give up and don't do anything at all. And when they say this stuff, when they say things like, "Oh, I'm going to become jacked," and whatever, they become way too ambitious, and they say this, right? And they don't keep their word, because if you say you're going to eat chicken, rice, and broccoli for 6 times a day, and you're going to have protein shakes, and you're going to lift for 3 hours, every single day, and you're going to hit a PR every single day, you're not going to follow through with that, and you know that. But in the moment, you get kind of caught up in that and you say that, but then you break that promise because it's so easy to break, right? Because it's so hard to fulfill. And then you're like, what, fuck all this, right? I'm not going to do any of this. I'm just going to be in my room and just not do anything. Because it's either you're Tony Stark the billionaire, or you're unemployed, right? It's like there's got to be like a good balance in between. Okay, so when you're writing down the exact plan that you're writing, make sure that you specifically write the exact foods you want to eat, the exact kind of routine you want to do, the exact time you want to sleep, and make it enjoyable. If you want to watch some anime, or if you want to watch like a show before you go to bed, put that in there. You don't have to be like super locked in. Like, I know you watch Hamza, and he says like dopamine detox and this and that, and there are people out here saying, yeah, I don't do anything, and all I do is read, all I do is train. Like, you don't have to do that. The more easier you make it, the more consistent you can do it, and you can actually keep your word for once, and you can actually respect yourself. Like, today I said, okay, I'm gonna do walking. I'm gonna walk for an hour. I'm gonna get a sweat in, or I'm gonna get like 500 calories burnt, 400, 500 calories burnt, and I did that, right? I did that, And if I said, no, well, man, I'm going to do 1,000, I'm going to do 2,000 calories, like, I will break my promise and then I'll lose trust with myself. And this, guess what's going to happen? If I miss my cardio that I said I was going to do and I do less than I said I would, then I'm going to eat more than I said I would. I'm going to miss more days of the gym than I said I would. I'm going to lose more sleep, right? Than I wanted, and then I'm going to keep snowballing, and before you know it, boom, you balloon back up and you're back at like square one. So don't overestimate yourself and don't try to do more than you can actually do. And if you keep the bar a little bit, I'm not going to say keep the bar low, but you keep the bar like reasonably achievable, then you can increase the bar like over and over. Like same thing with the gym, right? So it's like, okay, I might not be able to bench 315, but maybe I can bench like 170 or 160, whatever. Okay, cool. I can do that. And then next week or next 2 weeks, you can bench it. You can bench like 165 or 170, and you can keep raising the bar, and you'll feel good because you're actually keeping your word, you're keeping your promise, and you have that feeling of leveling up, right? You're not going to just, magically become Spider-Man and now you can like stop a train. Like people always, this is why I don't like superhero movies, because people always think that they can just wake up and then they have a sudden surge of motivation and they're going to get to their goal in like a month. Like that's not going to happen, dude. Like, and then you say that you say you'll get there in a month and then you're not going to get there in a month, and you keep going in this loop. So that's why I don't want you to make over ambitious claims to yourself like that. Just make really, really realistic claims. Like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Now, a practical way you can do this is just section off realistic goals based on different categories of working out, right? So for example, you have the diet, you have the nutrition, you have the sleep, right? Instead of, let's just take sleep for example, right? Instead of saying I'm going to get 10 hours of bed every single night, I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep, 10 hours of bed, 8 hours of sleep, I'm going to do this, I'm going to have this 1 hour Ashton Hall routine. Don't do that. Just start off with being like, okay, I'm just going to not bring my phone into bed tonight. I'm going to sleep however long I want to sleep, but I'm just not going to bring my phone into bed. Start with that, right? Or you can start with, I'm just going to start getting, 7 hours of sleep instead of like 5 or 6, and then you can scale it to 8 and then maybe 9, right? So just scale that. And the same thing with nutrition. You don't have to go to the extreme of like only whole foods, and that you don't have to do that either, even though that's not extreme. But I know it might be hard to completely go to a whole food diet, even though that's the most optimal thing. You could literally just start with just being like, okay, I'm eating bullshit, right? Let me just remove all junk food. I'm going to eat however much whole foods I want. I'm not even going to look at calories, but I'm just only going to eat whole foods. So I might eat like, 6 apples and 7 bananas or whatever. I might just do that when I start off, just to get into the habit of eating whole foods. And then you could watch your calories, and then you could scale the whole foods down and actually see how much you're consuming. You can do that. But I want you to like scale up the level, right? Same thing with when it comes to training. If training to failure is hard for you, right? And it was hard for me when I first curled, my arm was like this, right? It was like this. Like after I was done bicep curls, I was walking around like this. So that's going to happen, right? So maybe don't train a failure immediately unless you like it, then that's not a problem. But maybe just go to like 3 reps in reserve, right? So you do it until you feel like a little bit of pain, and then you can stop. Now, obviously, you don't want to continue doing that, but then you can push it a little bit harder, right? Put a little bit more weight, and then eventually, maybe in the second week, then you can actually push to failure. And then you can push to failure on only 1 set for every exercise. And then before you know it, now you're actually pushing to failure on all the sets for all your exercises, and then you feel good, right? So don't just jump to the extreme end unless you like it. If you actually like it, then you probably don't even need this video, because you're already achieving what you want to achieve. But if you find that it's kind of hard to be the person you want to be because it seems so far from where you are right now, all you need to do is make small promises to yourself, right? Super achievable promises that you can achieve. It might take a little bit of resistance, a little bit of a challenge, but you can achieve it. In a video game, whenever you fight a boss, there's like a color or like a meter that shows whether it's like insanely hard, you need to exit the map, or if it's like challenging, or if it's like super light work, you can kill the enemy in 1 blow. You want to be like in the midway, like challenging, like that orange color difficulty level where it's like, it's not super easy, but it's not insanely difficult either. It's like the right amount of challenge. Set those level of goals, like those level of promises to yourself, and then you'll actually feel good. at the end of the day, and after you achieve it too, you actually feel good. You're not gonna need the high that comes from consuming meaningless content, from watching some shit or like eating some food just because it's like a hobby to you, right? You're not going to view life like that, because when you actually set the right amount of challenging goals in the day and you actually achieve it, you're gonna feel good. The dopamine that you get is actually gonna be like longer lasting for the entire day, right? For example, when you eat cookies, right? Whenever you eat some junk food, you're gonna feel good for like that 10, 15 minutes, right? But that dopamine feeling you get while you're watching something and you're eating, you're gonna get that feeling continuously if you achieve a challenging goal, and that dopamine effect that you get, it's gonna be for the entire day. And imagine if you achieve multiple things like that. You have like a cold shower, you do your cardio, you work out, you hit a PR, you talk to that girl, or you maybe socialize with your friends, you hang out with your family, whatever. Like all this stuff is going to create like endless amounts of dopamine, and then you'll find that I don't even want to consume content. I don't even want to do this bullshit of like going to the store to have some like Swiss rolls. Like you're just gonna look at yourself like an idiot. Like, what am I doing? Right? But to reach there, you have to set those like small promises daily that are like challenging, and then you achieve those, and then you can slowly scale up the promises, and then you can actually be able to keep your word and actually respect yourself, and then you can actually become the person that you want to become in a more easier way. Just don't start off with the whole like, oh, I'm Ronnie Coleman, I'm gonna, 6 times a day broccoli, whatever. You're not gonna do it. Okay, I'm not gonna do it. No one's gonna do it. Okay, so like I said, set those daily promises that you can achieve. And yeah, that's all pretty much it for me today, man. I mean, that's pretty much it. And I hope you have a nice day.